He came home very drunk one night, pain pills and medication, and he not only got physically aggressive, but sexually he tried to assault me.
Oh my goodness.
And that triggered my childhood sexual abuse.
My
And
gosh.
that was my my deciding point of, I had thought I can handle the emotional abuse until the day he dies.
Right.
I grew up with this. This isn't hard.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
You're thinking this is a Tuesday.
Yeah. I thought I would have tolerated the emotional abuse. I completely lost myself.
Yes.
But I thought I would have handled the emotional abuse however long it would have lasted until the day he died. But that was my line in the sand. I will not be sexually abused again.
Okay.
I knew I was worth more than that.
Welcome to our next question, a place of discovery and not the final answer. I'm Chris Onit, the marriage and family therapist, and sitting next to me is Melanie Jones, part owner of Downey Park Counseling, and my wife.
Thanks for joining us. Let's get the conversation started.
Hi, welcome back. It's another Friday, and we are in what we call the studio, better known as Downey Park Counseling Associates office. There's an ad. And how you doing, Mel? Good?
Yeah.
How was your last time we met? How was everything in between now and then?
Same-o, same-o. I can't think of anything.
Yeah?
You'd have
Okay.
to give me a few minutes. I did.
Get the brain working.
I feel like
Okay.
your face was like, when was the last time we met?
Exactly. So, as you can tell, there is someone in the studio who is not normally here. Caleb's here.
I'm here.
He's here. We have a special guest today. Her name is Megan Kubicek, and you are LMFT or?
LMFT.
LMFT. Mm-hmm. She is a therapist, counselor, colleague of mine. And how did we meet?
Wellspring Counseling Network.
Yes. Mm-hmm. We have a network, Christian counselors here in our area, and some great people associated with that. And that's how we met at one point. And we actually came into a little bit of contact again because she stole an employee from me. Mm-hmm. And there's no controversy there, though. It was super cool. And the former office person I had is becoming a therapist and doing a bang-up job, from what I understand, as I always knew she would.
There's actually been twice in our relationship over the years that things have come up that I've been like, oh, I wonder if he's ever going to talk to me again. When I was prepping for this, I was like, did Chris send me anything to confirm? So I just did a search in my email for your name.
Oh.
An email from 10 years ago popped up. 10 years ago this year, you asking me to consider coming on board at Downey Park. And I said no.
That's hurtful.
And then... And then we hadn't talked for a while until all of a sudden you popped up as a reference on this chick I wanted to hire.
Nice.
And I stole
That's
her away
right.
from you. And then you still were willing to keep talking to me.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know if it's a virtue or I just forget, but I usually don't hold grudges. No, I would never hold a grudge.
We'll go with virtue.
People need to do their things, and you had something else going on where you were like part of a school and everything else. Mm-hmm. And God has used you there in tremendous ways. And then who knew that would be a great transition for our friend Bree.
Yeah.
So whom one of these days I'll have to ask to come on the podcast. But anyway, so today's topic, before we get to our icebreakers and all that other good stuff, today is What is Your Story with Megan Kubicek. And what is your title? What do you go?
Other than licensed marriage and family
Yes,
therapist?
sure. Yes, that.
I call myself the codependent counselor.
That is awesome. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get into the why of that as you tell your story. And so she's going to be with us for 2 episodes. For our second episode, the topic is am I codependent? Mm. You could also segue that into what is codependency. So, and we have a bit of an expert. And by the way, I don't hire, not that I'm hiring Megan, but any therapist that I associate with or talk to have gone through some stuff, because that helps us relate to our clients. And we will not know what it's like to be in something or to go through something until we won't know what it's like for our clients until we've gone through it, which totally reminds me of how Christ is with us, right? He has gone through situations in life. So there you have it.
Yeah.
Okay. So icebreaker. What did I say the icebreaker was?
There's two.
Because there's the first one was
Let's just stick with the first
church
one.
rules that you now, as an adult,
Think,
are like, wow. Yeah.
So how did this come up?
So I just walked into the office and Chantel and Nicole were discussing how Chantel has never done a scratcher.
Instead of actually doing work, they were discussing.
We were chit-chatting about that.
Yes, exactly.
No, and so Nicole was flabbergasted, and I told her, well, I haven't either. So she was dumbfounded.
So she was equally flabbergasted.
Yeah.
What about you, Caleb?
Oh boy, I don't know. See, I haven't been in the church as long as you guys.
We're talking about the new and modern church.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there isn't a whole lot from my growing up that's different to now. Other than I think I had, because of the church I was at, I had really strong views about women in leadership.
Oh.
Versus the church I'm at now, which has women in leadership, and I think I held it as a strong thing because it was what my church really held to without really examining that deeply.
Right.
And then, so that's one difference.
Which is the tendency when you grow up.
Yeah.
And you, as a child, you believe something and you're surrounded by something, you just take it on
100%.
Yeah.
Right. Until you examine those beliefs later on when you can think for yourself.
Yeah.
I wasn't around when dancing was prohibited or movie theaters.
Wow, you got in on the good ground floor, or on the ground on a level that was pretty okay.
Well, whereas Chris had a Footloose scenario.
Yes, exactly. The townsfolk wanted to chase me out. Well, it also, I imagine, depends on the church you went to.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what about you, Megan?
Oh, similarly, I didn't grow up in church.
Oh.
So for me, I was thinking of, okay, so then the first church I went to, something that was very new for me when I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be living, in the world, not of the world, and what does this mean, and how do things look different, and all the things. One of the first churches that I went to, women with women and men with men. If you broke out into small groups for anything, if you did life groups, Bible studies, and I remember thinking that it was just the strangest thing in the world that they had boundaries around the co-ed groups being together. And didn't realize how incredibly wise that can be in certain situations.
I love that. Certain situations, that's spot on. Okay, so what about you, Mel? Rules that you're looking back on and going, huh?
Well, so this wasn't totally a rule, but okay, I'm just going to tell the story. So I grew up in a very small church, pretty conservative.
In the woods.
Yeah. But, all the men wore suits. No, not all the men. My dad didn't. But most of the older men did. The 3-piece suit, the whole thing. And there was a man there who's like a second grandpa to me, Dick Zedeker. I will never forget Dick Zedeker. But I remember one Sunday... And I remember what he was wearing, too. He was wearing this brown polyester suit. And I had on a very cute outfit, I thought.
And how old were you?
I was probably 16.
Oh,
15,
all right.
16.
So you cared about your ensemble.
Yes. So I had on a little denim skirt. It wasn't that short. It wasn't inappropriately short. And a t-shirt.
Was it above the knee?
It was above the knee.
Uh-oh.
It was above the knee. But my dad didn't have a problem with it. My dad used to let me know when he had a problem with what I was wearing. And sandals. It was cute. It was cute. And Dick said to me, now, Melanie, would you wear that to go see the Queen of England? I was like, no. He's like, then why would you wear that to something like to worship our Lord or something?
Oh boy.
And I was like, I respected him, so I didn't say anything snarky, but and I knew then that it was like, that is jacked up,
Oh.
But that's the only thing I can think of. I don't remember there being a lot of rules about dancing or anything like that.
Okay.
So
I grew up at a church in town here, First Baptist. It has since changed names. Do the research. And there was stipulations against drinking, against dancing, against swearing. And I might have thrown all those out the window at some point. But some of them, it's like dancing. And as a therapist, I'm like, well, define dancing. What do you mean by dancing, and what's the problem? Wherein lies the problem? And I think their mindset was, if you're close to someone or rubbing up against them,
or you're on a pole,
that would be not good. And there has to. What's that? What did you say?
Or you're on a pole.
Oh, cover the kids' ears, ladies and gentlemen. And you said it twice too, because
you asked again. I was hoping it would just slide under the radar.
But it's dancing is in God's word, and so it's like, okay, but it's part of kinesthetic expression and all this other stuff. And so being able to say, okay, we kind of brush that one off. And then the alcohol, I totally get the stipulation against alcohol. But, being able to, now there's breweries we have that are open by pastors around here. I know, clutch my pearls. That's a few of them. And maybe, even some parts of the Bible have certain language that's very strong that we would not use today. And yet we have these stipulations culturally against, okay, you can't say this or you can't say that, which then also turns into a lot of church jargon being exclusive to the church people, which sounds like another topic entirely. But anyway.
And I love the differences, though, between whether you grow up in church or you don't, and then your perception of what that equates to.
Yes.
Because I was thinking as you were sharing about, would you wear that? And I do try to dress nice for church because I want to, he gets my firsts. He gets my best.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And so I want to look nice. Mm-hmm. But if I'm having a bad day, I also know that I can walk in there in absolute scrubs.
I love that. Yes.
And my heart is what he's looking at.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, I was thinking, man, probably your church would have just had a heyday if they would have known that my my time with Jesus is when I'm naked, because that's where I pray. I'm in the shower, right? And I'm like, he has seen all of me,
right?
And and perception makes such a difference, because even my husband grew up in a couple of churches in the area, and First B was one of them.
Oh, right on.
He grew up with this image that God was just sitting on a cloud with a lightning bolt, ready to just slam you if you did wrong. And because I came to Christ at a much different time as an adult, at a very, very broken place, all I've ever known is a God of grace.
Wow.
Totally different relationships.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
I love, you're right. Our background has so much to do with it. I grew up without a single mom, so I grew up without a lot of rules. And I think it was later in life where it was like, no, rules are very important to me. So when the church told us to throw away all of our secular CDs, I was like, okay, then. That's what God wants.
I forgot about that. Secular music was a big.
Oh, that's right. Secular music too. You don't want that.
What was that whole big conference that was big back when we were kids?
Directives? No, something.
Bill. No.
Oh, Bill Gates. No, not. I don't want to say Bill
Gates.
Keep going. It's coming, guys.
Oh, what was that?
See, Caleb's no help in this.
No.
There's even
Bill Gothard.
Bill Gothard.
No, and it's. No.
Is it Bill
The
Gothard?
Gaithers?
There was
that's a big. Gaithers were a musical group.
I think it was Gothard. There was but there was a
directives, spiritual directives.
No, but there was a name of the conference.
Imperatives, gospel imperatives. I don't know.
keep just thinking about Promise Keepers, but that's not it either.
No. This
but
was
yeah, there was
that.
a bunch of rules stipulated with that organization. It was like. And you're right. It was the 80s, and there's a very interesting time because this 50s going into the 60s and the 70s birthed some, very diverse music. And I was thinking about this the other day. The 80s started to birth even appearance that, carried over from the 70s in evolution, the appearance of makeup, men wearing full on eyeliner and
wigs,
blush and lipstick. If you've ever seen the rock group Poison, you know what I'm talking about. And the hair. And so there being the culture going one way, and then the church going, "Oh my gosh, what do we let that in?"
It's very much a fear-based, religion, for lack of a better.
Sure. But also, I understand it too. I get it. I get okay. Do we as the church, get formed by the culture and everything else.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, wow. So many topics for other discussions. But
we
today,
could go off on that. Let's get back on track.
we are talking to, of course, Megan Kubicek, LMFT. And she has a story, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even know the full story. And so we want to hear the story from her. So, Megan, how did you come to this place?
The whole dang story. Well, okay. I'll start with my nutshell. And then you guys let me know where we want to go from there.
We will ask questions accordingly.
So I am, in my home of origin, firstborn oldest.
Aha.
I actually had a half brother that I didn't grow up with, but in my home of origin. So I'm actually a middle child, but I never grew up that way. So firstborn oldest. So I have
when a therapist hears firstborn oldest,
yeah,
there's an entire story now that I have in my head.
You want to tell me about myself?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
rule follower, model citizen.
Absolutely.
Taking early parentification.
Ambitious.
Ooh.
Overachiever.
Oh.
All the things.
That's great.
Yeah. And those can be channeled as really great strengths.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Right? If they're not formed in healthy ways, though, they can also lead to some really unhealthy maladaptive stuff.
Aha.
And so we've got that. And then I, just by, it's just who I am as a therapist, very much developmentalist, attachment-based, relational.
Yes.
That's where I am founded and grounded.
Awesome.
And so when we look at like temperament, for example, when I'm described as a baby, the word perfect was often used. So I was easygoing.
Oh.
I was flexible.
So at 6 months old, you were asking for what you needed and wanted.
Or just wasn't making a peep and didn't bother anyone.
Oh.
And there's actually a story about it. Like, I was taken to a conference, and at the end of the day, everyone was like, and we have our youngest member in the room. And I was announced, and no one had known there was a baby there all day.
Oh my gosh.
As
and people love
just
that.
Infant, right? And that's not normal, because they cry and they whimper and they whine and they need to be changed and all the things. Nobody knew. So temperament-wise,
a performer from the start.
Yeah. So temperament, easygoing, flexible, firstborn, achiever. And I grew up hearing these descriptions of like, she was the perfect baby.
And probably like in a positive
way.
So
Absolutely.
as a kid, you're taking it in as like, oh, that's
Yes.
good. That's good.
So as that same
Good to
kid,
know.
perfection became the bar. Right? So always striving. And then I grew up in a home where, I mean, we have lots of happy memories, incredible core family that felt very safe. And my parents were married and all the things.
Did you grow up around here?
I did, born and raised.
Oh, wow.
I was born in the hospital that's in downtown Modesto at 5 Points.
Oh, sure.
And when I was, just quick side story, I was a teenager. And for a period of time, that was a psych hospital in town after it was the main hospital in town. I had a boyfriend in the car, and my family thought it was a joke every time we drove by to tell my boyfriend that that's where I was born, that I was born in a psych hospital, because it wasn't a psych hospital when I was born there. But so even there, maybe like they just knew I was going to be a therapist, because I didn't know it at that point. But we had a great family in many ways, but I also have a lot of blocked memories as a childhood, which tells me a lot about myself as well.
Isn't that
and
something?
I grew up with a mom who was very controlling, very overbearing.
Wow.
There was a certain amount of what I now know to be emotional abuse, highly critical.
Okay.
And then I grew up with a dad who adored her, but was very passive to all of her controlling tendencies.
Interesting.
And kind of buried himself in workaholism to make her happy all of the time.
Isn't that interesting how, I mean, this happens in relationships all the time. We find a compatible dysfunction, quote unquote compatible.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So
classic opposites attract.
Sure.
So in this dynamic, what I grew up with was these messages of, the phrase like, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy.
I know it well.
Our household ran on that. that. But it was this way of my dad almost trying to comfort us and console us. Like when things were really hard with mom, it was, come on guys, let's just do things to like, let's get mom happy again. Like, let's just do this to keep the peace.
Okay.
So very much a peacekeeper. And so we grew up with these messages of do everything you can to manage her feelings so that our feelings can be okay.
Wow.
So that our day can be okay.
What a setup.
Right? And and especially for kiddos who don't understand that those are the messages that are happening.
Yes.
And in those overcritical times, what I internalized was that nothing's ever good enough.
Yeah.
Nothing I do is good enough.
Right.
I have to keep striving. And it was just a nonstop, perpetual attempt to be good enough and to be loved enough and to be accepted enough. And that was all of my young development years.
Okay. Did you have siblings?
I have one younger brother, 16 months. We're 16 months apart. Yeah.
And
then I have the older one that I didn't grow up with.
Right. Okay.
So we had the two of us, and we have polarly different personalities too. Polarly different.
Yes. Okay.
So I
can only imagine.
Yeah. So I grew up that way, and from a very young childhood, I think the youngest I recall is 3rd grade. Always struggled with my weight. And now that I've been able to put my story together and piece it, I'm like, oh man, this is tied together and that's tied together and this is tied together. I have one very vivid 3rd grade memory of my weight being a major issue. And then I remember like I'd get in trouble and I'd be sent to my room to clean, and I became a closet eater. And a lot of what I was cleaning was just wrappers that were hidden everywhere. And I have one memory of there was like a pudding in the fridge. There were 2. It was summer. It was hot. I asked if I could have the one pudding, and I was, you can have one. The other one's for your brother. Well, it was so yummy, and I didn't want to stop eating, and so I ate the other one. And then in self-preservation, I emptied out the trash, buried one in the bottom of the trash, put all the trash back on top, and then put the one I was supposed to eat on top of the trash.
That's a lot of work.
It was a lot of work. Closet eater, right? And I learned.
So let me get this straight. So on the surface, you were this model citizen.
Oh yeah.
But lurking deep within, you were sneaky.
Oh yes, sneaky and covertly rebellious.
Okay.
100%, and that got way worse as a teenager.
Now, there's interesting because there's people listening right now that you're hitting every note. So that
was it? I want to go back to the 3rd grade. Was it your mom that had a problem with your weight? Was she the one, or?
There were just in her being very overcritical. There were a lot of, as I was growing up, a lot of backhanded statements or very covert insults. And I internalized them all. But I was also just very aware. But the vivid memory in 3rd grade was that I had a crush on a boy for the first time, and it was Valentine's Day. So the anniversary of that's coming up here pretty
you're right.
soon,
You're absolutely right. Holy cow!
And we were supposed to be giving, Valentine's to the whole classroom. And this one guy his name was, I don't know if you're still out there, his name was Bo Pacheco.
Oh, man, what a name. Yes. Bo Pacheco. The latest action film.
Really, yes. I haven't done the whole social media search to see how he turned out.
No, sure. Did he? What grade was this?
3rd grade.
3rd grade. Did he have a mustache already and a medallion? Because that sounds like a guy.
He looked like he probably would have if we would have still known each other. There was definitely a potential there. Like
there you go.
There was a cross between upstanding Italian guy and maybe could have turned out The Sopranos.
Oh wow! Do you like the Bad Boys, huh? Okay, yes, exactly.
So we were exchanging Valentines, and I had kind of wanted him to know I had a crush, but I wasn't confident to let him know it was me. And so I wrote in his little Valentines something extra that I didn't put on anybody else's, and then I signed it "Love, Miss Piggy." Oh. And I didn't realize at the time how much that said about what I thought about myself.
Wow.
And then it became this scenario in class of all these peers were all opening and reading, and I see a bunch of peers huddled over and they're giggling and they start trying to guess who it is, and they figured out real quickly that it was me.
Oh, wow.
And that was the first time I really have a vivid memory of my weight was an issue. And then I recall being bullied for weight-related things all the way through high school.
Goodness.
Even older in high school, I went to Modesto Modesto High, and it has a 2-story building, and we'd have to go up and down the stairs to our classes.
Sure.
And I remember peers who I didn't know just poking my back fat with a pencil while I was walking up the stairs.
Gosh.
And I remember, in being older and being interested in other boys and having them say, you are really pretty, but, and then it was always related to weight.
Oh, wow.
Different things. So weight was a big, big struggle for me.
Okay.
And I didn't realize until way later that I was eating my feelings all
Sure.
of the time and how much was associated with that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And imagine even as a kid, you're just trying to, I'm sure we all remember the high school year, junior high school. We're all just trying to make it. Mm-hmm. Right? We have no idea these dysfunctional ways of trying to cope with things. Mm-hmm. No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay.
So we've got those origins, and then I'm struggling with weight. And throughout all that, I got some perfectionist overachiever stuff going on. I was like the star brownie and had to have an extra sash in my belt for all my badges and all the things.
Commando
right?
organization. Yeah.
Then we get to 5th or 6th grade. Right now, that's fuzzy. But 5th or 6th grade.
Okay.
I went to a slumber party, and the little gal's stepdad molested me that night.
Oh my gosh.
At the slumber party. And there were 5, 6, 7 other girls there.
Oh boy.
And what's interesting now, because as a professional, as a therapist, I spent a long time working with victims and offenders of sexual abuse. And so I have so much of a different understanding of it now.
Yes.
But one of the things that was unique about my development that came from my origins and came from everything else is oftentimes when children are victimized, they internalize it as what was wrong with me.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was striving for so much love and attention that even though it felt uncomfortable and it felt violating and I knew it wasn't okay, what I internalized was there were 7 other girls he could have picked from, and he picked me because I'm special.
Oh boy.
Completely different way to internalize
Wow.
that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And a kid brain. Sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you tell your parents about that, or?
Not right away.
Okay.
I did eventually. I kept it inside for a while, which again makes perfect sense. Now we know most of the time average length of silence is about 7 years before victims come forward.
Wow.
Really?
Unless
Okay.
it's actively caught in the act in some other
Sure.
way,
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Well, and for a lot of victims, you would be able to know this having been through it, but there's almost this out of body, like what's happening. I'm not sure what's happening. I don't want to upset anyone, which very much fits with firstborn kind of like this is an adult. They know, I don't. And it's only afterward upon reflection that they realize, oh my gosh, something wasn't good. This thing was not okay at all. Yeah. And so in the other, in you having worked with perpetrators as well, unfortunately, we'll take that as consent.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Ugh, guy.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let's take a break for a second. Word from our sponsor, and we're going to come back to this.
Sounds good.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Chris Oneth reminding you that our next question is brought to you by Downey Park Counseling Associates, where since 1977, we have a group of Christian counselors that are ready to help you with any need. Visit us at our website at downeyparkcounseling.com. Okay, welcome back. And we are...
How was that?
There was a complete inside joke that just happened. So
what I'm curious about, Megan, is at the time, do you recall thinking that, like consciously thinking like, oh, he picked me?
Not initially.
Okay.
Okay.
So that was, like I said, 5th or 6th grade. I'm positive, actually, now that I think about it more, it was 6th grade. I remember who my teacher was. But that was 6th grade. And I went to a small K to 8. I graduated 8th grade with the same 90 kids I started kindergarten with. We all knew each other, little local community. Everybody's super close. And it was my friend's stepfather who had done it. And in small communities like that, it's hard to keep secrets.
Sure.
Yeah.
And when I did open up and I told my story to a very good friend that lived a couple doors down from us, and her dad was a community service officer.
Wow.
And her parents had done a lot of fostering. And she knew enough, even at that young age, to know we cannot keep this a secret. And she told me, you know, I love you and I want to keep your secret, but somebody has to know. And she said, we're going to tell my dad. And so we wound up telling her parents, and then her parents went and got my parents a couple doors down and brought them over and kind of filled them in, but said, you know, hey, you need to know what's going on. And so that gentleman wound up being prosecuted. We found out after the fact he was on probation or parole, but breaking the law again was definitely a violation of that. So he went straight back to jail.
Okay.
And as soon as he went straight back to jail and his family figured out what it was for, rumors spread quickly in my little school. So now that other little girl, and I know that it was very difficult for that family to go through too. They were so excited that dad was home again. But that other little girl in this story became the victim and I became the villain because it was my fault that their dad went back to jail.
Oh, boy.
And so then that started a whole different kind of bullying. Yeah.
Yeah.
And back then, school counselors didn't exist, and my school sure as heck didn't have one, and my parents didn't ever seek out any kind of help for me, and we didn't talk about feelings at home. Feelings led to discomfort and lots of other things. Our family was really avoidant when it came to the big, hard feelings.
Okay.
So I just figured out how to survive. I figured out how to shove it under the rug. I figured out how to just keep going, or I ate all my feelings.
Right.
And then further and further into puberty and going into middle school, that also manifested in me being highly, highly promiscuous and looking for love in all the wrong places because I thought he picked me because I was special.
Wow.
And I started to figure out, well, what did that mean? What did that look like? Oh, well, I'm more developed than everybody else. And so maybe it's about my breast size, or maybe it's about this, or maybe it's about that. And so I started using my body to get the attention that I was looking for and longing and needing in all kinds of inappropriate ways.
Wow. Wow. And again, that kid brain that doesn't go certain layers, there's almost a behaviorist quality to it. This works, this gets me a reaction, and so, we play to our strengths.
Yeah.
Sure.
For sure.
Okay. Okay, so coming through junior high, and then into high school, I'm sure patterns persisted.
They sure did until I ended up pregnant.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And how old were you when this happened?
16.
16 years old. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And so, I had said, all those covert, sneaky things, they just kept going as an adolescent.
Sure.
I got really, really, really good at being the straight A kid. I was hired at my first job before I was legally allowed to work. I had gone to the interview, got myself the job, and letting them know this was the first date I could start. Called the DMV and took my driver's license test on my birthday.
Wow.
We had a car sitting in the driveway that I was going to be making payments towards before the day I got everything ducks in a row.
Right.
And then I got to high school, and all the boys and all the other, poor choices that I was making, I felt like academically I was very smart, but I just felt like I'm beyond this. This is a waste of my time. So I started ditching school, writing my own notes. I also wrote my brother a lot of notes. I became a master of both of my parents' signatures.
Oh my goodness.
Which now that they're older is great because I can take them out to lunch, they pay, and I sign their credit card statement for them with their permission. They ask for it to happen, but I've still got that signature down.
I tried to forge my parents' signature in like second grade. I don't think it worked very well, but yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I was ditching school but somehow still passing the things that I had determined were important.
Okay.
The things I cared about.
History class, no doubt.
I actually really enjoyed history. I had a couple great history teachers. English was always my thing.
Sure.
But math and PE.
Ew.
Oh, yeah, my mom was a math teacher, so I rebelled against that. Right?
Oh, jeez.
And I was struggling with weight and out of shape, so PE wasn't one I was going to put energy into. So during PE, I would, make out with the boys in the gym under the stairs. And during math, I would ditch school and walk to my boyfriend's house. And I would just do all of these things.
Okay.
And so then when I got my license and I decided I was going to use my first paycheck from my first job to pay for myself to take my GED because I was beyond high school.
Okay.
So I did that. I passed. I took my GED and my CBEST, and I was like, I am ready to start life. So I graduated at 16. I stuck around for one more semester because the perfectionist in me couldn't leave mid-year. I'm not a quitter.
Oh, I see.
Even
yes,
though
there's a little obsessive-compulsive element there. Yes.
Yeah, so I kept going even though and none of my teachers knew that I didn't have to be there. I already had the degree.
You just keep showing up. I don't know. Do you know who she? I don't know.
I was a TA, so I went to the ones I enjoyed, and I just didn't care about the others.
Wow.
But yeah, in that process, I wound up pregnant, and initially, and the guy that I was with, another fun fact about those who are abused, we tend to go for older men.
Uh-huh.
And the guy that I was with was 2 or 3 years older than me.
Okay.
He was over 18. And he had graduated a year or two ahead of me. And when I told him that I was pregnant, he was genuinely excited.
Wow.
And really just interesting. The night I conceived, I knew it. And at the time, I was not that in tune with my body. But I absolutely knew it. It was a very surreal, interesting experience that I had. And then, by the time I took a test and I confirmed and I shared with him, he was very excited. And I had nerves, but I was also pretty excited that I was going to have, this little person to love.
Sure.
And, like every teenage person who swears they're in love and has had a relationship more than, 6 weeks, we thought we were going to get married.
Of course, 100%. Yes.
And it was it was around November, early December when we found out, and we decided not to tell anybody until after the holidays. So I remember Christmas that year.
Just pause for a second. I have a question. So this guy, was he like a responsible type guy?
No.
I was going to say, usually, and that's a pattern too, where the ultra responsible finds the irresponsible as someone else to take care of.
Oh, I had a very broken picker for decades.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So not responsible.
Okay.
But that was nothing in our minds, not something to weigh out.
That wasn't part of the fantasy. You kidding me?
Yeah, so we were Christmas morning. We have this very traditional, like always the same breakfast, always the same crowd. And my mom had made one of those kind of backhanded comments about that I had gone back for a second or a third cinnamon roll. And I remember that he came up and like hugged me from behind, and he nuzzled into my neck and he whispered, "She wouldn't be giving you all that shit if she knew you were eating for two." And we kind of like giggled and chuckled together, and he kissed my neck, and it was just this really cute, precious moment of like, we just got to share that we were so excited about this secret. And then a week or two after that was when we sat my parents down to tell them, and they were sitting at the kitchen island. And as soon as I shared, my dad just kind of numbed out.
Wow.
He was looking forward at the kitchen island. He was sitting at a bar at the island. And he was looking forward, and his eyes just never left the kitchen counter. He just kind of shut down. And what I perceived was that he was completely disappointed. And I could not handle the thought of my dad being disappointed in me.
Wow, okay.
And my mom, completely different response. She started going over all of the ways that this was unacceptable and wouldn't be tolerated, and essentially told me that I wasn't allowed to keep my baby.
Oh, boy.
And then went into a series of...
this is not a church family.
No.
These are not churched. So this is outside of the church. This is, the expedient thing, and the biggest solution to a lot of people as well. Just fix it.
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
And then she kind of went into this series of essentially threats and manipulations of, and if you choose to keep it, here's what's going to happen. We're going to take your car, and then you're going to be pregnant and walking and riding city buses everywhere, and we're going to do this. And
wow.
so this is how being a single, teenage mom, this is how difficult it's going to be. It's going to be completely unmanageable, and there's no way that you'll be able to do this.
Yeah.
And it felt like that meant I would have zero support.
Yes.
And I kept wanting the father of the baby to just kind of save me and say, well, just come live with my family and just do this and just do that. And he never did that. And he kind of seemed like maybe he was going to. He was like, I'll talk to my parents. And then we had a phone call one night, and he said, my parents said they agree with your parents. And that was just kind of end of discussion. Oh, my gosh. And within a few days, my mom had called and made the appointment to have our regular doctor refer us to the abortion clinic. And all of these steps were done without any communication with me, and I was just expected to go along. Okay. And it never really felt like I had a choice. It felt like at the time that I was bullied, and I used to say that I was forced. And now I know that I had agency in that, and I didn't assert it. And that's a very different story.
Yes.
But I wound up going to the clinic, and I did wind up going through with the abortion.
Okay.
And that was a very, very traumatic event.
Oh, I bet.
And I came home, and we didn't talk about it. We got in the car, and my dad said, what do you need, honey? And I said, a spicy chicken sandwich from Wendy's. And then just went right back to eating all my feelings and not talking about anything. Wow. And throughout the years, every time there was one of these big things that I just stuffed and didn't talk about, what I also kept piling on was tons of resentment towards my mom.
Yes.
And it was getting pretty bad.
And these issues, for the listeners out there, understand that issues, for a lot of people, they believe that if they just don't talk about it and desire it to go away, that it does go away, and it doesn't. Mm-mm. It always compounds.
Yes.
So it becomes another weight on the load of everything that's going on inside of a person. Mm-hmm. And of course the load is proportionate to the magnitude of the whatever. Mm-hmm. And so that's huge. That's huge that now you take on this, I've had an abortion, and then, okay, time to go back to life. Mm-hmm. So, wow.
Yeah. And I locked myself in my room for a few days.
Yeah.
And 3 days later, my two best friends came over, and I thought they were there to comfort me, and they were. But they shared with me, your mom called us and told us to come over because it's time for you to come out of your room and get over it.
Oh, wow.
And so that is what I did. I pulled up my bootstraps and I just moved on.
Yes.
And at that time, then I was, 17-ish. I was starting junior college.
Okay.
In that fall, because I had already graduated.
Okay.
So I was 17-ish. I was starting junior college as a minor in a sea of grown-ups, thinking I'm a grown-up now. Oh. And I just went into this perpetual cycle of filling my voids with food and men for a very, very, very long time.
Wow. Wow. Mm-hmm. Never have. Okay, sure. And the interesting thing is, whatever tools we have, we think we have, that's what we use. Mm-hmm. So if you got attention from men, okay, this must be it. This must be that's why I tell parents, like, if your kid is smart and good looking, they have two things going against them. So, as Dobson used to say, I know we're not supposed to talk about Dobson these days, but it's the gold and the silver coin.
Yeah.
Looks and intelligence, right? And yet, boy, we take whatever gift God gives us and we will pervert it. Mm-hmm. So, okay.
So I'm curious, Megan, like in the post-abortion and into junior college, was there any kind of internal thought about it, or did you just kind of, like, every time it would come up, just get rid of it, or was it not even on your radar?
Not even. I was very numb for a very long time.
Sure.
There were a couple instances, like when my first nephew was born, mm-hmm. I watched him be born, and it was less than a year after I had my abortion.
Goodness.
And that was very, very difficult, and it was very obvious for me that it was triggering and I had to step away, but that also wasn't allowed. Like, no, this is their happy moment. You can't cloud that. Get back in here.
Wow.
And then I wound up in my first marriage was a very abusive marriage, but I fell in love with his two daughters, and they were 2 and 5. and they 100% filled the void of that mother's heart in my
Wow.
soul.
How old were you in
That
your first?
I was aware of.
Okay.
So how old were you in your first marriage?
We got together less than a year after my abortion.
Okay.
Very illegal relationship.
Oh, I see.
I was maybe 2 months shy of 18.
Okay.
And he was in his 30s,
Okay.
mid 30s. And we met in junior college. It was 2 semesters before I was supposed to graduate with my first AA, and then I wound up in junior college for 7 more years trying to graduate.
Oh, sure. Yes, we all have those stories. Yes, a career student. Yeah.
His little girls, they were 2 and 5, and everything in me was chasing after. Like,
Wow.
I knew I was supposed to be a mom, and I adored being their stepmom.
Wow.
And I stayed for them, and I fell in love with them more than him. And then, that's a story of its own as well. But
Sure.
So those moments, I felt it and I was aware of it. But outside of those really big moments, I just pretended like it never even happened.
Okay.
Wow. And so how long was the marriage?
We were together 5 years. We were only actually married 9 months.
Oh, I see. Okay, so moving along, you're married, you're in this relationship, it sounds like what you're saying is you were then more attached to the girls than you were to him. You mentioned abusive relationship. I mean, what did you start to realize over time being in this situation?
Yeah. So about 6 months into our relationship, he began just being really volatile, a lot of similar things to my mom, as far as just how he would assert himself to be controlling.
Okay.
But it was subtle, very Cobra-like, but very subtle.
Okay.
And then by the time I figured out, hey, this is probably headed down a path I shouldn't be in, he was diagnosed terminally ill. And then there was no way that I was going to let the world see that I was someone who would leave a dying man.
Oh, boy.
Because what on earth would everybody think of me?
Oh, my goodness.
So I stayed thinking, well, if he's dying anyway, he's going to die. I don't have to put up with this for all that long.
Wow.
And then that turned into 5 years of this battle with his health. And he has since passed away, but not while we were married.
I see.
But throughout his medical treatment and all his diagnoses, when there were times when he would get really frustrated that he was terminal, and so then instead of taking care of himself, he would decide, well, screw it, I'm just gonna go on a bender and drink.
Okay.
And he had a liver disease that was not related to alcohol.
Oh, wow.
But drinking with a liver disease is not a wise choice.
Well, as choices go, yeah.
And he was on morphine and Percocet and other medications that when you mix those with alcohol, he became a violent man.
Oh, wow.
And it was about 9 months into our marriage, he had gotten, to the point where he'd been very aggressive, but he hadn't been physically abusive towards me.
I see.
But he came home very drunk one night, pain pills and medication, and he not only got physically aggressive, but sexually he tried to assault me.
Oh, my goodness.
And that triggered my childhood sexual abuse.
My gosh.
And that was my my deciding point of, I had thought I can handle the emotional abuse until the day he dies.
Right.
I grew up with this. This isn't hard.
Oh, my gosh.
Right?
You're thinking this is a Tuesday.
Yeah. I thought I would have tolerated the emotional abuse. I completely lost myself.
Yes.
But I thought I would have handled the emotional abuse however long it would have lasted until the day he died. But that was my line in the sand. I will not be sexually abused again.
Okay.
I knew I was worth more than that. And so I did enough to hold him off until he passed out cold next to me. And then I packed what I could fit in my car and I drove away in the middle of the night.
Oh,
and
my
I didn't
goodness.
have a cell phone. And I drove to the closest Starbucks with a 24-hour drive-through. And I asked if I could go inside and use their phone to call for help.
Oh, my goodness. And so for a lot of women in your position, it's the same language that you're using. There's always a better reason to stay. That's outside of what, in this case, the woman says, this is what I need, this is what I want, this is what's good for me. It's always, it's because of this, and it's not that big a deal. And there's always minimizing as far as the abuse is concerned, in which case that's a minimizing of the self. And if you don't have a self, then and these situations can last for years.
Yeah.
And it's usually something outrageous. And sometimes that doesn't even work. For these women who have been abused, it's something outrageous that they finally say, I can't believe this. And now I got to do something. But again, crossing that threshold is also the scariest thing ever.
And for someone who does have that sense of self, it's that first even slightly non-outrageous red flag that they're like, oh, no.
Yes.
But we don't see those or we minimize them.
Yes.
And it is the most outrageous things that it takes that kind of jolting eye-opening to go, oh, hey, wait a minute, something's not right here.
100%. That's interesting. So for the women I've talked to that have been through or coming out of these situations, the question I ask them, what is the deal breaker for you? And oftentimes they will cite, well, if he starts beating me, if he starts beating the kids.
Yeah, the kids.
A lot of times it's the kids, because the self is not that important.
Yeah.
But to see their children abused, then it becomes, okay, I've got to do this for them.
Yeah.
And so even in that situation, when I've asked women, well, what is the deal breaker? And it's, something violent. But then citing, okay, but did you ever think you would ever put up with continued drug use, like financial, emotional, sexual abuse? Did you ever think you would start to say, well, I understand, that's okay, and it's not? And 99 times out of 10, the answer is no. I never thought I'd go through this.
Yeah.
So we have a lot more to talk about in our next episode. But I wanted to also the things you have gone through have also informed like the work you've done.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
About all my work?
Well, just in a nutshell, what's the elevator speech? I'll ask you more questions.
I started my career in 2 different therapeutic settings, and one for 7 or 8 years I specialized in sexual abuse.
Okay.
Working with both victims and offenders, certified by the state. Most of the offenders that I worked with were post-conviction, post-incarceration.
Yes.
A lot of mandated treatment.
And
it was incredibly, incredibly fulfilling work.
Wow.
Especially to be able to work on both sides of the coin.
Okay.
I ran the children's program there for victims, starting with the toddler group, all the way through. We had junior high was when we started separating those who chose to offend from those who were offended, for like adolescent groups, all the adult groups. And with the adult groups, we ran not only adult groups for adults who had offended, but also we ran AMOC groups, adults who were molested as children.
Okay.
So adults who were coming back to work through their own childhood sexual abuse who maybe hadn't addressed it as a child.
Okay.
And then we also ran support groups for family members of both victims and offenders.
Wow.
And they all did co-healing in the same treatment facility together.
Wow.
Which is almost unheard of and pretty freaking special.
Tell us about that.
People get very put off by the sound of that.
Yes.
And there were safety things put in place to make sure that like those who had offended were never in the building with children who had been victimized. There were different treatment days. There were lots of boundaries put in place. But for the adults in the program, they got together and they were separated. There was different levels of groups. And those who had offended did not get to be in groups with those who had been offended or support people until they were at their highest level of treatment. But there was also these quarterly large program meetings where they all came together in one room.
Wow.
And victims got to read impact letters, and offenders there was just the co-healing that would happen was miraculous, and it was all done in a setting that was highly supervised, and it created a safe place for all of them. And some of my favorite years of my career, for sure. But
what was so special about it, Megan?
Well, one for me, I think, to be on the victim side and to come full circle to not only be able to just be in the space where I know offenders can truly rehabilitate, but to work individually in a room alone with those who had offended, who had stories very similar to mine, or I ran our level 2 group with offenders who were working on building empathy. some
Wow.
of my favorite stuff. And to be able to, and I, at that time in my career, I did not self-disclose. And with that population, it probably would not have been appropriate, right?
Yeah, 100%, sure.
But without ever self-disclosing, almost every one of my clients at some point in my time working with them were able to look at me and say, for some reason, you get us the way that other people don't.
Wow.
And it was powerful.
Oh my gosh.
And, you know, and it was not only incredible to be able to give everyone dignity,
Yes.
no matter what side of that coin they were on, but also to help with healing, rehabilitation, and reunification. Because there are times that those who offend can absolutely be back in life together with those they offended, and it can
Wow.
be done in a healthy way.
Wow.
So to be able to be a part of that full
I mean,
circle.
there's true
Yeah.
rehabilitation and redemption. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
And so part of what you said is interesting. Am I reading that so many of those who offended had been victimized themselves?
High percentage of them.
Okay.
And another thing that was unique to my victimization that isn't always the case, mine was a complete stranger. I didn't know him before I walked in that door for that
Right.
sleepover. But for many children,
Yeah.
and many victims, whether they're children or adults, their offenders are someone they know, love, and trust.
Yes.
And so they need that safe person to tell them that they don't have to hate that person that they loved and trusted. That it's okay to not like what they did, but still love them.
Wow.
And it was just incredibly rewarding work. And, you know, selfishly, it provided me a different level of healing that
Oh my gosh.
I had already gone through a lot of work and healing on my
Sure.
own, but it provided a different level of healing that I didn't even realize I needed.
Wow.
Okay, so following up, walk us through the end of your first marriage and today. That I don't know if that's another hour, but
Well, just real quick before we do that. So career-wise, while I was doing that, I was simultaneously also doing school-based services.
okay.
And that's gotten my heart because it has remained the rest of my career.
Oh, sure.
So, which is why I stole Brie from you.
Yes.
So I'm the coordinator of mental health for a charter school district, and I
Yes.
oversee the mental health program. And what I love about that is that I blend school-based mental health, which graduate school for therapists never teaches you how to do.
That's
It's
right.
its own thing.
Yes.
But I blend that with what community-based private practice mental health looks like. And so we've created a really neat program within what we offer at our district. And so then I've gotten to be a service provider. And the reason why that has my heart is because I was that kid in school who fell through the cracks.
Oh, yeah.
I was
Yeah.
that A student who had so many social emotional needs, but nobody
Wow.
ever would have figured that out, and I never had anybody to talk to.
There was no squeaky wheel. There's no, you're knocking off mini markets and, yeah.
No.
Well,
So-
and it didn't exist. The program.
it really
that
didn't. So to know that I can just walk in a room and do observations, and I can read a little child, and I can say, I think that kid should be referred to us, and then I pull
Wow.
them in for an intake, and they fall apart. And I'm like, we're going to get you the help you need, buddy.
That's so
And that's
incredible.
my career, and I wouldn't change that for
Wow.
the world.
Wow.
And then through that, I get to help rise up future therapists as
Oh
a
my
clinical
gosh.
supervisor. And
Yes.
I mean, it has my heart
Wow.
100%. And,
Oh, I love
you know,
that.
so it's been a very fulfilling career. And then all that codependency specialty is just my side gig. Yeah.
Well, okay. So, real quick. So then how long your first marriage ended. Mm-hmm. Then what?
Then what? I went back to all my own patterns because it was everybody else's fault, not mine.
Of course.
Yeah. So now
Easy
I'm like,
coping.
I'm out of this horrible relationship, and so now I have this newfound freedom. And for my ex-husband, he put some serious messages in my mind. And while I was with him, I had weight loss surgery.
Okay.
And I had lost about 150 pounds.
Wow.
And he told me through our separation, in a way to manipulate me, that no one would ever love me the way he loved me because he loved me when I was fat.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Of course.
And so I was determined to prove him wrong. And
Wow.
I was very mistaking love for sex. So
Right.
if no one can love me the way you love me, I'm going to go sleep with as many people as possible to prove you wrong that people will actually love me and find me attractive now.
Love in quotation marks. Yes.
Yeah. So through that, I wound up pregnant again.
Okay.
With my daughter, in a rebound relationship.
Okay.
Who was also in a different way an abuser and an offender. And then 3 months after she was born, he was incarcerated, unbeknownst to me, and I wound up being a single mom.
Wow.
And almost everything my mom swore was going to happen when she threatened, this will happen if you don't have this abortion, all of it came true for me as in my mid-20s as a single mom, and I made it through all of it. And it was pretty amazing to see the way God showed me, whether it was back then or whether it's now, you could have done it and you are more capable than you think.
Isn't that something? Wow. And where in that did you find the Lord?
Well, I had actually been invited to youth group in junior high by a few friends.
Okay. Yay, youth group, by the way.
Yes. And the only reason I said yes was because my friend was like, hey, if you want a night away from home. And at that season in my life, I could really use a night away from home. Yeah. So God was my refuge, and I was saved in middle school, but I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, 100%.
And so then through adulthood, it was messy. So it was while I was pregnant with my daughter that I wound up back in church, and then to a degree, she is a significant part of my redemption story.
Oh my word! Now that's interesting because we're going to talk about codependency or whatever next episode, but there's this huge element of our relationships being a path to redemption. But not to the point where they're we solely rely on them for our self-worth and our personhood. So how did you meet your current husband?
In church.
That's where you meet all the great folks. Wonder, and how long you been married now?
Oh, he's not here to do the math, Chris.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, wait a minute. I can do this. What year is it?
It is 2026.
15 years.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
We got married in 2010, but on like the last day of the year.
Oh, nice.
So in 2026, the last day of the year, it'll be 16 years. But I always just have to minus 10, and then it makes my brain hurt.
But you do it the tricky way. That's why it's okay.
Right. So I minus 10, but then not really till the end of the year.
That is something else. Yes, exactly. You got to play the tricks.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for telling us your story.
Yeah.
I guess any other questions from the
I'm
gallery?
curious about when did you want to get into mental health? When did that become the direction that you were wanting to go?
So I had always known I wanted to be a helping something. Right? I originally thought I wanted to be a teacher, and I always knew it was going to be something. But it wasn't until I was a single mom and I started spinning, trying to control everything so that my circumstances wouldn't affect my child, that I completely burnt myself out and I hit my rock bottom, and I wound up needing to get help. And through that journey of getting really healthy, I found my path here.
Oh, awesome. Okay. All right.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, once again, thank you so much for taking the time. And I'm sure there are those out there that have listened to your story, and it resonates with them. And if that's the case, there are resources out there. Do you know any offhand?
Well, there's a lot of codependency books out there. Okay. There's a lot of self-help stuff for sexual abuse, but I would want to caution people that sometimes those experiences shouldn't just be dealt with on your own through self-help. Right?
Got it.
Sometimes you really need that support system, and you need to seek professional help. But a classic is The Body Keeps the Score.
Oh, yes. I was thinking about that when you were talking.
Yeah, Bessel van der Kolk.
A lot of those things that were going on inside of me that were connected to my abuse, that I never knew were connected to my abuse. It's amazing what happens when you realize that this wasn't just life hitting me. This wasn't just all these people in my life. This wasn't just me always, being obese because it runs in the family. This wasn't just X, Y, and Z. This was my body in survival protecting me. And how powerful it is to know that you can take that power back.
Something else.
There's a lot of great resources on codependency. There's one, Codependent No More. Yeah. There's actually a local therapist here in the area that just wrote a book and released it that I have found to be really great for beginners. That's called I'm Fine, Really? Okay.
And who is that?
Darla Nelson.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
And
I'm
then
fine, really.
Yeah, I mean, shameless plug. You can head to my website.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the Codependent Therapist.
CodependentCounselor.com.
Codependent Counselor. Mm-hmm. Don't burn your
I like
into your head the other one.
alliterations.
Yes, Codependent Counselor. Yes, rolls off the tongue beautifully. So look her up. The Codependent Counselor. We'll have a link in the show notes. Mm-hmm. And stay tuned for our next episode.
Yes, please.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us today. If you've gotten anything from this podcast, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend.
And be sure to join us next time for our next question.